Well, hello there. How's the apocalypse treating you? And today we're going to talk about a weapon of the apocalypse and hopefully how to build a list to beat it. You may have, shown up at your FLSG or your Vassal game or your tabletop simulator game or your garage or your bedroom or your kitchen, wherever you go to play, and your opponent drops down this thing. It's an interesting looking ship, a bit like a hammer, and he has shot you turn 1. He has one-shot your MC-80 Liberty. He has made your ISD cry before it ever got in range. He or she has brought the Onager. And it's a bit of a ride, people. It is a bit of a ride playing an Onager. Arc dodging, all those things, you really need to be on your game. You mess up, they shoot you, your Bright Hope explodes before you get an activation. Your Raider is gone in a puff of smoke. So we haven't got any requests this week, so what we're going to do today is we are going to talk about how to build against the Onager. Because I know I've been there. Sam on the Discord played it so much, and I played against him a couple of times before it even came out, that I wanted to curl into a ball and cry. I did not know what to do. And we're not going to talk about how to beat one specific Onager list, because I think I've said before, the test bed is so cheap and the module costs so little, it can be fitted into a lot of fleets. So we're going to talk general tactics. We're going to go through some upgrades and admirals and objectives. The important one, to help you out. I missed my nose there. That probably looked ridiculous, but we're doing this in one take because it's a Saturday. So we're going to just talk about what you can do. Now, if you have questions, put them in the comment section. I'll either respond to them in the comment section, or I will make another video if there's enough questions on it. Of course, with all these things is know your rules, know how it works. So there will be a Karnak video at the end of this one. Go watch it if you're a bit confused over beams and Onagers and stuff. I'm sure he has a useful one on it. I'm going to find it afterwards, but Karnak will have a video on it. If you have a question about how a thing works, there is a Karnak video. Anyway, meandering aside, we'll go through things, we'll try and give you a picture of what you can do, and we're going to try and help you out so that the Onager rage is a bit less ragey, and you may have some solutions. And we might build a fleet or two, try and help out afterwards as well. But yeah, so we're going to go through that. By the way, plug for a new channel, well, newish, Brace for Impact are a new channel that are currently doing battle reports. So if you're missing the battle report, I'll put a link to Brace for Impact at the bottom. Also, if you're watching this in October 2020, the Vassal World Cup, there are still standby slots available. Currently, I am a bounty. The challenge is you must play me with just medium ships. So if you want that bounty, reach out. It may be gone already by the time this goes up. Who knows? But if you're trying to qualify for a standby slot, please reach out straight away. Alright? Discord is the best place to find me, but you can also ping me on the forums. I'm not down there, or put down a comment. I may be slow to respond, but I'll do my best. Anyway, on to the Onager. So, let's take a look, shall we, and see where we're going. Let's start with the rebels. Okay, let's take a look at ships. So, you've got two big problems with ships. So anything big enough to take a hit generally will not have enough speed to get to the onager. Anything fast enough to get there will not have enough hull to take the hit from the onager. So big and slow gets shot a lot. Big and small and fast gets shot once and dies. Neither of these things are good. So we're going to take a look. So assault frigates. If they're hard to fly, I've flown a number of them off the table, but they're just kind of that Goldilocks zone of tough enough and fast enough to get. They can take one hit from the onager. They should have ECMs, so build them with ECMs. And they hit hard enough, and they've got the speed 3 without messing around with upgrades. Okay, CR90s. Okay, so the problem for CR90s isn't the speed they can get there. It isn't dodging the arcs. They can do it. They take one beam, they explode, but they're cheap enough. Okay, you have 3 of them, you lose 1. The real problem is salvo. Once they get past an onager side arc or 2 and a salvo, not counting the beam, will do 1 in. And this is ignoring the fact there will be a supporting fleet. So if you've got squadrons up against you and you don't have enough squadron cover, and it's very hard to provide adequate squadron cover to CR90s, because a Marek Jendon take a turn or 2 and they will do them in combination with salvo. It's tough. Okay, so CR90s, maybe not the small ship you want. Transports obviously aren't killing them by themselves. They help push squadrons. They pad out your activation, so you know where that beam is going to be before you kind of get. So again, you're using your flotillas. We're talking about flotillas now. Forgot if I basically use them for activation padding. Get your activation out of the onager, because remember, the onager can have a strategic advisor. And that's giving them a bit of the activation advantage. So hammerheads. Okay, not scouts, but torpedoes. They are not as fast as a CR90. They will die like chumps. They have 1 less evade. But you can do 4 of them. You can load them up with external racks and just stick Task Force Organa, and for 160 points you just plow 4 of them and you just go deal with these. The rest of my fleet is going to do work. So they are an option, but you keep them cheap. You realize some, if not all of them, are going to die, and you send them in at speed 3. Now, you plonk them down, you plonk a bunch of squadrons, and you hope for the best. But it will allow the meat and potatoes of the fleet to deploy elsewhere if you can afford. So if you want a distraction that is dangerous, 4 Hammerhead torpedo corvettes, external racks, Task Force Organa, away you go. Okay, there is a saying, the answer to everything is more MC30s. Just throw enough MC30s at it and the problem will go away. That is not always true, but for the onager it might be. I think we've talked about this before, but a minimal viable defense package for your MC30, and take 3 of them. And you're fast enough, you're nimble enough, always be navigating, as Mr. Naismith says, as everybody says. Always be navigating with these things. Maybe take Medine to up their navigation. Untitled's admonition is brilliant, but foresight against the beam works really well. Now, is it Intel officer Nick from Nick from Master of the Fleet, I can't remember your actual fleet title, Nick, I'm sorry, but he always kind of, I feel like he spends a little bit too much on his foresights, but against an onager, that might be appropriate. So, ECMs, normally I wouldn't put them on a torpedo frigate, but ECMs on a foresight can sit in that red beam and extreme range. So, you see there, when you resolve the evade token, you can affect 1 additional dice. Now, if you're sitting at extreme range of an onager, you also get evades get rid of 2 dice. So foresight doesn't say 2 dice, it says additional. So you get 3 dice. So therefore, making sure you have those evades are critical. Therefore, I'd say put an ECM on it. And potentially something like a Major Gerlin or an Expert Shield Tex. Okay? But MC30s are fast enough. You're going your Ordnance Experts, you're going your cheap Ordnance upgrade, you get in the side, you double arc them, and you won't always catch them. You will not always catch the onager right where you want it. You're probably ending up in their front arc outside of their beam. If you're going straight for them. Doesn't always matter. I beat a 300 list with MC30s. I didn't kill one by shooting it. They ran away so fast, one of the onagers flew off the board. And maybe it's not you're hunting down the onager, because an onager with engine techs, once MC30s do their pass, it's very hard for them to come back around. But maybe you're killing the rest of their fleet. And the MC30 is zippy enough that they don't murder you in the meantime. MC75. Keep them cheap. Don't let them get an arc, and have something else apart from their speed to protect them. You, with an MC75, with enough activation advantage, you can probably be in their arc once or twice at most before you're there. The more you reduce it down, the better chance you have. You do not have the defense tokens for a mega hit. And 1 mega hit may be enough. So you're going to use terrain, you're going to use activation advantage deploying afterwards, but you're probably going to need to be prepared to take 1 shot. This, if you're not using them, this may be a spot for Lando. And if your meta is such that the only threat that you're really worried about in that fleet is the onager, reinforced blast doors may be the thing over ECMs. And I say this because, for example, if you're up against an intel officer heavy meta, it may be a case of you just need to survive that 1 turn. So think outside the box when building your MC75s. I would still stick with the Ordnance Cruiser to keep it cheap, because it is in danger. MC80s, like you put engine techs on it, it's speed 3, it might get there, but you're not repairing as much. I don't know. I need more testing, but my mind says the MC80, even the Assault Cruiser, is going to have a lot of trouble getting there. And once it gets there, if it's Akbar, maybe, but everyone else will have a lot of trouble just doing the damage. So it needs to be backed up by squadrons. If it's squadroning, then it's the command. If it's commanding squadrons, do you have engine techs? If you don't have engine techs, I think you're probably dead. The MC80 is MC80 Liberty version. It's good, it's fast, it hits hard enough, it'll kill it if it gets there. Go back to last episode, protect its sides, make sure it doesn't get killed by the attending squadrons. Do not let the onager shoot you in the side arc. I would suggest probably having a good bid so that you can always go first with this thing. because the engine techs can get you out of trouble, but against an onager, I think you want to bid to try and go first. If your meta is onager heavy, always engine techs. That would be my thought. The Neb Bs are in a tough spot. They don't have ECMs, so double accuracy means that beam is doing full damage. They have a terrible side arc, which is massive. And even if your Yavaris can be deployed correctly, or can be deployed safely, they can use the onager to kind of force it out of position where it wants to be. So I wouldn't take a Neb B if you're unfamiliar with the maneuver. That simple. Peltas, they're very slow. They're not going to take a hit well. Not from an onager, and they'll take 2 hits. If they're targeting your Pelta, they'll take 2 hits. That being said, what we say on this channel is the Pelta is bait. The Pelta is part of a larger plan and a larger fleet, and they spend 2 turns wrecking it with their onager. For 70 points, you may have bought the rest of your fleet time. In a way that a Neb B I don't think will do, if I'm honest. Because like an onager beam, a Pelta can probably take a shot or 2 from something else, whereas an Neb B that gets shot on the side, anything looks at it sideways, it's dead. Unless you've gone Vanguard, Madness, protecting, at which point you have overspent, my friend. Anyway, lastly, the Starhawk, who, depending on your meta, you probably believe this video should be about. And if there's enough demands in the comments section, we'll do a how to beat the Starhawk. But some people are like, this Starhawk is just going to wreck the onager. It depends on the Starhawk build. I would not take it in an onager heavy meta without agate unless you're really familiar with what your admiral does and you have a plan for how they beat something like an onager, or a double onager, or a triple onager. Yes, people are mad enough to run them in 3s, including this guy. Yeah, like, for your Starhawk, you need to worry about your bid and you need to worry about your objectives. Doubly so. Because the thing is, if that onager can just shoot you for 2 or 3 turns and then skedaddle past you, because if you have a single side arc, or even you get 2 side arc shots with a Starhawk, it's not killing a 10-hull onager, which is maneuvering at speed 3 at this point. So have a plan of how to get the Starhawk there. Because the rest of your fleet may have trouble killing one if it gets past it. Okay? But yeah, it's a good solution. Just have a plan with it. This applies to all these ships, so if you've limited ships, even the ships I said are not great, you know. But the Starhawk definitely needs a plan for what you're doing. And again, some protection from squadrons. So let's take a look at the Imperial ships. The Architans. Okay, so you've got a single evade, which is not great for surviving the beam. The navigation chart is not great for if they can drop that onager after 2 or 3 Architans. Make sure the Architans are not going in the same direction, because they can lay the beam on one and then the other ones are not avoiding it. They're going to fly into it like flying into a web. So make sure, if you're going with an oblique angle or diagonal angle, that all your Architans are not going the same way. If they can get there, they don't have the same problem as, like, they can take the salvo fire if they're not taking a lot more, much better than the CR90s can, in my opinion. And they can take the side arc shot better. You can take a bunch of them as well. You can take 2 or 3 of them in an Imperial fleet and still have some other stuff. So spreading and diffusing your threat helps. They're an okay choice. Gladiator. Demo, yes. It can get there. It can blow stuff up. And with engine techs, it can avoid that beam a lot of the time. You should have your Brunson on it. So your standard demolisher, Brunson, engine techs, ordnance experts. Ordnance of choice. It's expensive, but it will get there. As long as you play it carefully and your rest of your fleet can run distraction. Gazantes are activation padding, or if you're Romedy, Gazantes assault carriers can just start laying fire into an unshielded side at some point. Your ISDs. So, look, I mean, it's the ship that does everything. It's an ISD. I feel like the Kuat and the 2 are probably the best. They've got the defensive retrofits built in. You want a strategic advisor at the moment, or you want your officer slot to not be used up by Tua. You want a Brunson on it. You want a strategic advisor. Hey, maybe you want a Palpatine. Like the Onager fires at the ISD, it uses up its salvo token, things like that. But your ISD, like, look, if you have a problem, there's an ISD that can do it for you. But I would stick with the 1 or the Kuat, and probably the Kuat for just simply get in there fast, which is what you want to be doing anyway. You've got to be flying at 100 miles an hour with this thing, because you do not want to take 2 Onager shots. Because even with your brace, they may well have intel officer. So I would say Kuat is probably your choice. You probably want TCMs. You know? H9s, if you are going ISD2, may not be a bad call, and you're locking down their salvo. Sometimes you're letting them have their brace, you're letting them have their redirect, so you can lock down the salvo. Combat interdictors. Suppression interdictors. Sorry, combat interdictors we're ignoring. They don't have, like, they're 3 points more expensive for 1 less reliable dice, better flak, and that's it. And a worse upgrade bar. I do not understand why the combat refit is more expensive. So, yeah, the Interdictor title is going to be useful for your Brunsons to keep either the and I have to read Interdictor title. Yeah, so the Brunson on the Interdictor. So I did play a list, 3 Onagers, and it took like 2 turns to kill an Interdictor with Brunson and all the trappings, which doesn't seem great. It might have been 3, but it doesn't seem great. But yeah, that was against Ted from All Fighters Follow Me. They have a new podcast out recently. Go listen to it. I'll put a link to in the description. But yeah, your targeting scramblers won't be much good. But you want to take a bunch of rift objectives and then throw the rift on the Onager so it's stuck at speed 0 and can never escape. Go for it. That'll work. Whatever gets the Onager, whatever's alive, will kill it. You probably want engine techs in this environment, unless you're doing something massive with projection experts. Against 1 Onager, the Interdictor repairing everybody may be enough at speed 2, but it's hard to say. And remember, the Onager will be backed up by other things. You could bring more Onagers. You could bring 3 where they're bringing 2. That ends in an arms race and is probably not good for your friendly meta. So if that's your answer and everyone's okay with it, sure, but it may not be the most new player friendly. And remember, Onagers will go out of stock if they're not already. Quasar, they're fast. They have 6 hull, which is not bad. they're cheap, and they will help get squadrons there. You know, winning the squadron war may just be the answer. But remember, this thing is going to get blown up if it gets beamed once. They can one-shot this thing. This does not have a defensive retrofit unless you're putting 2 on it, at which point you're adding another 10 points. At which point, no, don't. Bad player. So you want to set it up carefully. You want to set it up away from the action, and I'm forgetting my words, but you want boosted comms. You will want boosted comms so that the Quasar can still stay relevant, because they are going to be fleeing for their life if the Onager even gets close to you. The Raider. I would almost go the same advice for the CR90, except for 2 things. Corvus. Okay, I have slight deployment advantage, but I'm still going to have to deploy some chips in that Onager beam. No, I'm not. I'm going to put down Corvus. I'm going to go with 20 TIE Fighter, or sorry, no, 19 is the maximum amount of TIE Fighters. I'm going to see their entire list set up before I set up mine. Now, if you are desperate and you only have a Raider and some TIE Fighters and nothing else, do that, because the Onager will have to set up and reposition, and then your Corvus just goes somewhere else. So that helps with the deployment advantage, and you can go mad with it if you want. And then we've got Iden. Iden is a thing of beauty. You've got 2 evades. You get in close with your black or blue ordnance. Stay salvo. You go, okay, bye. I've got 2 evades, and they work just as well close in. And with a Raider, I've had to get close. So Raiders are good plans. I would stick with 1 and just equip it properly. Again, don't go nuts unless you have a plan. But like, you may just want Corvus. You know, Corvus on a basic Raider with your Admiral lifeboat. Keep your Admiral safe. If the main problem you're having is, find my Admiral and the killer dead, James, then put her on Corvus, put her on a Raider 1, and just go, well, that's 40 something points to keep my Admiral safe, and to make sure they can't Cataclysm turn 1. Oh, the victory. Look, they can take 2 shots. With Harrow, they may get out of the way of the second shot, but ISD-1 is still going to have trouble getting there. So I wouldn't, like, maybe. And you've got your engine tech, so you're at nearly 100 points. So you're the same cost as an Onager just by keeping a Vic-2 safe. And then with a Vic-1, you're at 84 points. Like, you could put in a second Gladiator before that, with engine techs, with all the trimmings for 84 points. So when I know it's heresy, like, it's absolute heresy, but I know it doesn't have Demolisher, but it's still the base cost of a Vic-2. Like, unless you have a plan for Harrow, like, they're just too slow. They are just too slow in isolation to deal with an Onager. And then you've got your Superstar Destroyers. To be honest, I haven't flown them enough against Onagers. I'm guessing they're going to have a bad day, but it depends on how you kit it out. It may be a case that you want to put Captain Nita, so your SSD has an evade, because it's just another token you can spend. Hell, Captain Nita and Iden Versio, because she's not limited. But that might be even crazy for this channel. Okay, so let's now go through some officers, or some upgrades that might help. So we'll start with the rebel commanders. Akbar. The problem here is with Akbar, once he gets there, he'll kill it. But there's a lot of investments in ships. That means you don't have Wraith Squadron cover, and if they're slotting their onager into a Sloan list, then you could be in a lot of trouble. Radis, get you there faster. Stick him on a fast ship, and even faster ship pops out. Radis is still fantastic. Okay, the fact he can't poop out a Starhawk, the errata did some stuff, but that stuff is not bad. Okay? Sato, I love Sato, but those 4 throwaway Hammerheads that I spoke about? If you have Sato in the fleet, that is the ships you're going to be able to take, realistically. With him, and with the squadrons you need to take to support him, he's just too much. Now, I think Explosive on the Discord has a Sato list with some MC30s. Reach out to them. They may know how to run that, because maybe an MC30 Sato might be doing it, but I don't know, I just feel he's too expensive. Garm Beliblis, I don't know how to build Garm, I'll be honest. But the thing is, you can drop a lot of the ancillary stuff with Garm, so you can drop having 2 flotillas, and you can make everything a threat, realistically. And you can do it while still commanding some squadrons. So he's a good one to look at. Kraken. Okay, so your small ships are going fast, they're worried about salvo, but here you've got obstruction on the attack, normal attacks, you've obstructions on their salvo attacks. And you don't need to be careful to use the obstacles to do it. And it'll work against Romedy if you're not obstructed by an obstacle. If you want to do it with small ships, I think he's your man. Dudana, cheap. He's cheap, he allows you to put a whole load of stuff in there, and onagers do not have contain. Medine, definitely dodging that beam, this will help. He is a bit too expensive. Raikkonen, yeah, he's a zombie lord. They killed something just as it got to the onager. He does not care. They have a massive squad ball. That's grand. Ketsu and an escort flew into the middle of it. It'll keep the squad ball there for 2 turns while your ships get to the onager. The amount and flexibility with Raikkonen is ridiculous. If you have not played a game with the Zombie Lord, he is an experience. And this is the thing, you don't need to build around the thing dying. What you do is you build to go, I want that thing to at least get off 1 shot. And if it gets more, it's a bonus. I want that thing to get in there and stay in there as long as possible. And I know if a thing stays at there, like Shara and Tycho, I know if they stay in there, they're going to do work. Raikkonen is fantastic. Go nuts building it. Agate is cheap, and she will keep your big ship alive. She will remove the need for those ECMs, and she will keep a big ship alive. She'll keep a little ship alive. Leia, once the cost decrease comes in, will build for her. Right now, if you want a Leia list, geek from cannot get your ship out, that's where you go. I will build with her once the points are in place. I think it's probably MSU, and some of the defensive stuff I've actually done might actually work better with the cost reduced Leia. Mon Mothma, make sure you have a way to ensure those evades happen, because onagers are continually taking a lot of one specific accuracy tech. They're going second, and they've got Sabrina the Teenage Witch, aka Flight Commander Vermilion, who basically, when you deploy, place 1 die set to a blank face on this card. If you're a second player, set to any face. So they are getting at least 1 accuracy out of that beam if they're going second. They can also waste a shot on something and then have the accuracy. Montma is good, but probably better on people with redundant evades, and this is why I'm saying if you're messing around with Foresight, use ECM. Okay, officers. Ezra Bridger, forgetting that important piece of terrain in the way. Lando, putting it on a big ship where you'd normally just put it on admonition is great. The problem is you're losing Lando's squadron. Major Derlin is okay. With Explicics, intel officers being used. Strategic advisor, yes. And then expert shield techs maybe help you survive a little bit longer. Those are the generic officers, and the 1 to 2 rebels I'm talking about are Ezra and Lando. Auxiliary shield teams, maybe if you want to run a Lab B, an auxiliary shield team might be your only gang. Engine techs, get there faster. Everything else, I don't see it anyway specific to anti-onager tech. Advanced projectors, if you're running the assault cruiser for the MC-80, advanced projectors in addition to the ECMs. Mainly so that your redirects are doing more work. Also remember your braces may be getting intel. Early warning system, I don't feel does enough. And electronic countermeasures, yes. Reinforced blast doors, maybe fit out your smaller ships with them. Buy them a chance. Heavy ion placements are good, and leading shots for when you get there. All the normal ones are good. I think XX9's turbo lasers might be good as well, as they don't have that extra contain, which you normally see in a bigger ship. So throwing 2 crits at them. Projector misaligned is horrific for them. The one that only allows you to make 1 attack against your ship a turn. Also mean your flankers are going to do more work. I think XX9s have a place. H9s are worth even more because they have no ECM unless they have TUA, at which point they're investing a lot into that onager. So H9s, I think, are a very good shout. Okay, so what slots are we missing here that we could cover in Rebels? Starhawk me. Gunnery teams, kick it and show them, obviously get the work done. Local fire control is less valuable. So remember, doesn't matter how close you are, ignition ignores salvo. So I'd stay away from it. Weapons battery techs. Your double ups, boarding troopers is grand, make them flip all their tokens so they only get 1 use out of it, but you want it on a cheap ship. Boarding engineers is okay. Shriv for... Does Shriv... So, what can Shriv remove? Shriv could remove Sabrina the Teenage Witch. So, you know, Shriv could be of use. Cham, to stop it getting away, and the same with Jen. But apart from that, wonderful. The Magnite, of course, is great. Make it go. Stop it going speed 0 and sitting there. Force it to speed up. So, have we any other slots? Fleet Command, Fleet Support, repair crews following behind your big ship, and then we could look at ordnance, but really there's no point. And then Fleet Command, take evasive action, could be useful to try and maneuver around the side. Okay, let's take a quick look at Imperials. And what has the most slots? Admirals. Constantine, if you want to go with that MSU, and you run a bunch of Architects, get around the side, hide behind obstacles. The only problem is if they have Constantine, and then it all gets messy. But yeah, Constantine, you can dodge around the sides, keep your smalls protected, and they can still do work. Motti can help any kind of ship survive, basically. Because it's, can you live long enough to get there? So Motti is one way of doing it. Ozzel, he's cheap. You know, more stuff. And I pointed at Constantine. Ignore Constantine. Pyatt is decent. No particular screed. Sloan, win the fighter game. Wreck their fighters and then wreck them with squadrons. Vader and Palpatine are meh. Unless you've got a big plan. Romedy is great. Tag, how heavy is your intel officer meta? Tag might be a good choice. Thrawn can do most plans. Tarkin too expensive. And Jerjerrod. If you're on an SSD, it's got to be Jerjerrod. Helps maneuver around those B marks. Jerjerrod. Just Jerry's your only man. Officers. So Montfrat, if you're second glad, if you're using Brunson somewhere else, keeping obstructed against those salvo shots. The same with your Architects. Great. Ozzel, yeah, they're going to be using them, so you can use them too to try and get out of it. Admiral Titus, speed up that onager. Brunson, she's like, yeah, of course. And Nida. Nida might be the kind of sleeper here, giving something like an ISD and evade in addition to its tokens means that even if they intel off your brace, you've still got a viable token against that beam. I like it. And then, right, others that are specifically helpful. Palpatine, maybe. We've already spoken about Iden. Reva is a good defensive officer, strategic advisor, as we said before. So yeah, like getting back your tokens, so you're going to get hit by other threats, particularly an ISD. Reva might be the answer. Also for an SSD. Gunnery teams, Farnadian is good on both sides, and Darth Vader. Vader can kill that super weapon because he's not as limited as Shriv. He can go in and kill that super weapon, and suddenly, but then you've got, he's on a suicide raider. That raider is gonna die. It's gonna do very little else. But yeah. So faction-wise, what upgrades are there that are faction-specific? Okay, let's take a look at these boys. So the G9s will help stop the onager getting away. Grav shift reroute. Yeah, throwing stuff in front of the onager with a bit of Titus and a bit of rift ambush can strand it somewhere. Gravwell token as well. But the danger here is they want to go speed 0. And targeting scramblers for when you get in close. I'm trying to think of any other upgrade that is faction specific, and I cannot. So if I've forgotten one, like we could go through the titles, but I think that'll be a bit exhaustive. So we have a rebel fleet for this purpose. So this is just building with some of these ideas. Oh no, we need to cover objectives. So people, right now, dust fields. They are so hot right now. Get dust fields into your game. Practice with them. Play with them. Use your interdictor to put them where you want. Use Ezra Bridger to move your cover up. It's like playing paintball, except you can pick up those pallets and carry them like a Roman legion. Dust fields, dust fields, dust fields. And in saying that, we are going to basically look at some do's and don'ts. Advanced gunnery, maybe. It's no good on the Onager. Blockade run, don't do it. I love it, I play it. The Onager has a much narrower place where it needs to play its beams. It can play further back. It will shoot you as soon as you come into range. Close range intel scan. It has dust fields, therefore it goes in. Unless you prefer mark for destruction. If you can make use of dust fields, close range intel scan, otherwise mark for destruction. Ion Storm, it's a problem. Because you then are set up with a specific path. Mark for destruction has dust fields, that's all we need to see. Most wanted, always good, but remember, they may just take your most wanted target, shoot it, if you don't have a flotilla, and even if you do, they may just shoot that flotilla on turn 1 and you're down an activation advantage. We don't just put flotillas in our lists for no good reason. Like, them killing a small value target early because they've got extra dice, most wanted, may not always be the best choice. Opening salvo, no, we're not giving them extra dice to roll against us. Precision strike, no, because then they can use it with the Onager. Rift assault, maybe, you know, but again, you're kind of tied to the obstacles, you know, as well as that it gives them more dice control, you know. So it could be a problem. Station assault, no, they'll blow it up. Surprise attack, maybe. Where's your opponent's admiral going on? Do people stick it on the biggest munition they got? Then surprise attack can be funny. But remember, you have to be careful with that. You know. And targeting beacons, it's fine. There's no disadvantage or advantage to doing it, but you really better have something that's making use of it. Right, abandoned mining facilities. It has scoreable dust fields. It has scoreable dust fields. You know, and here's something that I thought of in the shower. So the thought is going to be with that is you're going to take your second player, you're going to take your dust field and you're going to place it down first. So, because if they out activation you, they can just place theirs off to the side and your dust field does not help you approach them. What you're going to do, you are going to take anything else. They will take their dust field. You will take yours and you will then set up your dust field after they have set up theirs. Okay? And they don't get a double pick. So the inclination is, okay, I'll grab my dust field first. Now, don't get into dust field chicken. If they don't take a dust field second, then you can maybe delay one more go. But remember, you're gonna run out of picks at some point. So as soon as they take a dust field, do take a dust field. But yeah, you can play a little bit of Dustfield Chicken here with replacing that. It's scoreable. It's just all around good. Asteroid Tactics, if what you're facing is Onager squads and they're murdering you every single time, then Asteroid Tactics will back up those squads. Capture the VIP. They know where that token will be. They know where your ship is going to be. It's a problem. Contested outpost. No. They know where your ship is going to be. They will know. They will murder you. Fighter ambush. Yes. But you need to have a fleet that is a bunch of rogues or something horrific that will just overwhelm them. It could be a good answer to Onager. Fire lanes. Maybe. Bring enough strategic. Bring a lot of strategic. Don't use slow ships to do this, because they will murder you. Fleet ambush is a trap. Moving on. Because whatever the rest of their fleet is, unless they've got 3 onagers, at which point, yes, you can hunt one down, but an onager mixed into a balanced fleet, I don't see it being that great. Fleet in being, yeah, force them into the middle. It's an option. Because if they don't move out of their deployment zone and you just duck and dodge and dive, you'll get all the points for anything left in their deployment zone after turn 1. Hyperspace assault, yes, get an MC30 in the tailpipe. Jamming barriers, yes, it's got dust fields and it's got a crazy line of sight thing. So yeah, jamming barrier and abandoned mining fields are the MVP here. Planetary ion cannons doesn't do a lot, but like, yeah, I suppose you can get potentially a crit on an onager. But remember, it's after placing obstacles, so they can avoid them. And rift ambush. Again, it's dust fields, you know, and then force them to execute a maneuver, you know, and then the rift maneuvers for helping you get there faster. So abandoned mining facility, jamming barrier, rift ambush, all solid choices. Navigation. So hyperspace migration, maybe. Anyway, sorry, come back. Dangerous territory. It's grand. You know, it forces them to do something to try and get those tokens, whereas you don't have to do too much. Doom Station is like a test outpost, but you get to move the station with you. So they're going to know where you're going to be. That is the problem. But you can minimize that. It's better than contested, not fantastic. Hyperspace migration, okay. So if you've got enough deployment advantage, yes. Particularly Imperials who can do Corvus on one side, Flotilla on the other. Half my squads just keep deploying, wait until they're down, and then go, yeah, big stuff is going the way away from the onager or on close on top of it, depending. Or you can split them, and then wherever Purgles start showing up, you know, infested fields, it's okay. Again, if you're suffering because it's Sloan onager, then potentially. Intel sweep. They're going to know where you're going before they goes down the onager. Minefields. It's interesting, but it's also going to restrict your movement a bit. So use with caution, because they don't need to move. They can just sit behind the minefield that you created for them and blow you up. So be very careful. Navigational hazards, we've spoken about this. Salvage run. It's got dust fields, but they know where you're going to be. But you can have stuff needs to come in behind those dust fields. So yeah, it's trickier to use the dust fields in this, you know. SensorNet, Solar Corona, yes. Deployment advantage is fantastic. And if they're losing accuracies, maybe this is in a smaller ship build that's using evades. Superior positions, of course, is better if you're using squads. And then volatile deposits, I think I gave out a bit this before, but it actually has 2 dust fields. So, you know, it is decent. And the ability is not too bad. So volatile deposits are salvage run. Those are your SensorNet objectives. Or not your SensorNet objectives, your dust field objectives. Definitely strong contenders. Okay, we've built a little bit of a rebel fleet. This is a very speculative, has not been run before, but okay. So we're going with an assault frigate. So we're putting Kraken on it. Again, you can basically got a bit of punch. This is becoming Kaken and Sholin because we have the points. Kaken and Sholin on it, ECMs, and Link Turbo Laser Turrets. So we're not messing around. Paragon is too expensive. An officer might be good if we could fit one in, but yeah, this is cheap, cheerful, fast. Then we've got an MC-30 torpedo frigate, Ezra Bridger, and the standard admonition package. So Ezra is for moving your dust fields, moving stuff out of the way of admonition, because hull damage from landing on an asteroid can be problematic. Then we've got Foresight, as we discussed before, it needs ECMs, and then we've just got a Corvette A with Jaina's Light. But we can just quite as easily, and we probably will, make that a Corvette B for getting in there, and then we can add simple enough officer. So we've already used Lando down here. So what we can do is got 5 points to spend. So we can use Ahsoka Tano so that you can change your tokens to what you need. And it's always available to the assault frigate. This is a CR90B with Jaina's Light. Jaina's Light, cheap, cheerful. You've got a 3-point bid now. We're going to go with some rogues, so we're not commanding anything. Dash and Ando are probably the biggest impact if your opponent brings no squad ball. And Lancers are expensive, but again, against a no squad ball, they get it done. You'll spread these out. Against the squadron ball, you spread them out, force the squadron ball to come looking for them. This will not take on a squadron ball one-on-one. A medium squadron ball, Dash and Lando can do some damage, and then they'll be forced to chase down the pursuit craft, who are going for the Onager. Now, if they're defending if they hold back their fighters to defend the Onager, perfect. That's grand. Your 62 points is doing that. You know, and Lando and the Lancers have grit, so if you split them out, the threat is everywhere. You know, with the changes that are coming down the line to Intel, it may be enough to hold them up enough if they have an uber serious squad ball that you definitely need to tie down. Okay, and then we'll take a look at our objectives. So we've got close range intel scan, then advanced mining, abandoned mining facilities, and volatile deposits. So all these have your dust fields to get you over the line. If they let you go first, fine. You've got 2 MC-30s which are already obstructed and are going there fast, and when they get there, they'll go first. You know, I haven't built an Imperial one, so let's take a look. I suppose we can't leave your Imperials to die just because you caused this problem in the first place. So, we'll go Kuat. We built a lot of lists with Kuat recently. Lot of lists with Kuat. A lot of lists with Demo. Okay, so let's go Raider. Someday later now, he's Vader. He's a Raider small guy. Corvus. and external ranks. Do we give Iden? I don't think we do. Let's get in there, get the job done. So, what else are we doing on this magical mystery tour? So, let's go for TIE bombers. And let's take a look at some rogues. What is the cheapest rogue we can do, but still have some impact? Okay, I don't think there's too many that we can do. Like Monarchy is a lot to tie in, so let's get rid of rogues for a second. So let's take a look. So we talk about, so Vale and Rudor with TIE bombers is my new favorite ball. Captain Jonas, Reimer. So this is a very, and we got one more. Let's go one more. Let's go one more thing to go with it. Okay, so I think Whisper is going, stock is going to go up. So that's 100 points of squadrons, and that's a lot of bombers. So, like, with the new Intel rules coming down the track, I think that is a very good ball, which will tie up anything for days, because you got Valen sitting there preventing stuff from moving. You've got Whisper, who's going to be ultra annoying, and you've got 5 full boys and girls who are cheap, and Jonas is ridiculous. Let's be clear, Jonas is ridiculous. At 16 points, he's got grit, he's got bomber, and his ability is great. Reimer will get those bombers there, and Whisper is just going to be annoying. And Whisper and Valen are for killing squads. If you're up against a big squad ball, you've got to make the call. Am I trying to tie this down, or am I trying to push past it? If you're pushing past it, you're splitting them up to try and hit targets of opportunity. So we want cheapest cheerful carriers, we want CommsNet on one, we want a bomber command center on another. Okay, so yeah, we've got 8 deployments there, and then so we've got 180 points. Yeah, we're going Kuwait. We need an admiral. So JJ, for just getting us there. It needs ECMs. It needs concussion missile launchers. It needs dice fixing. It needs more dice fixing, because this Kuwait had better hit. Let's come back to that. Brunson is nowhere to be found, so Brunson is going on this. So we may, in fact, need to go to an ISD2. We, in fact, definitely need to go to an ISD2 because we need something more to command those squadrons. So with an ISD2, we're probably looking at XI7s, H9s. So we'll go with H9s. Ordnance experts are coming off. So tempted to say gunnery teams, but flak on the ISD2 is too blue. So do you know what? This can in fact be ruthless strategist. We have a lot of cheap high hull, so if we want to win the squadron game, that'll be a thing. And then do we want to title? So we could go Avenger. We could always go Avenger. With the H9s and everything else, it can be problematic for them. You can also, with Vader, get rid of somebody's ECM. Wonderful, wonderful. That 10-point bid is quite nice. Relentless might not be a bad plan. Chimera and All the Fighters Follow Me is funny. But I'm kind of tempted to say no title on this thing. I'm also tempted to boost the comms on both of these. Boosted comms on that. Yeah. Because the Gazantis can focus. Yeah, so I'm happy with that as a bid. So we could go with advanced gunnery, that would be funny, but I think close range intel scan or marked for destruction. So because it's moving obstacles around, I would say marked for destruction. Simply because those Purgles moving, JJ, you're better position to dodge them. Here, I would say jamming barrier over abandoned mining facility. We don't know. No, actually, abandoned mining facility is fine. You just don't have a way to move it, so you just need to be careful. Afterwards, you're fast enough to get to the station. And then... So we don't have critical effects. So I would say volatile deposits could be quite fun. And you're going to need a lot of flexibility, but yeah, the thing with the ISD2 here is you got Jerry. So you don't need to maneuver as all the time, so it can spend some times getting squadrons there, you know, so it leaves some flexibility. So yeah, I hope this has been helpful. I hope this helps in your games. I hope it helps you have fun again. But yeah, if you need a bounty for the Vassal World Cup to get one of those standby slots, ping me and let me know. Anyway, if you'd like a fleet built or you'd like something talked about, just leave a comment in the section. Leave a comment in the comment section. All right. Hope you're having a great weekend. Good luck.